Howdy folks, welcome back to another episode of Super Hamster Plays Kingdom Death Monster. As ever, do me a favour, hit the thumbs up button on this video, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any more videos. You can also follow me on Twitter, the link should be in the description, but it's www.twitter.com super_hamster with my usual appalling spelling. If you remember in the last episode we completed the starter showdown of Kingdom Death Monsters campaign, and our four lovely survivors here gained a little bit of lunacy, got a little bit slashed up, a little bit battered, a little bit afraid, but vanquished the lion. And now we're going to see how things progress with the campaign. So we've got our four starting characters here. We've got our 4 pieces of cloth and 4 starting stones, founding stones. All of the equipment in Kingdom Death, as I understand it, is essentially community owned. So it all, at the end of each battle, it all goes back into a pot, and then before the next hunt, it all gets distributed out to the people that are going out on the hunt. So you don't need hundreds and hundreds of the same things, you just need enough to equip a hunting party. But returning to the book, what does it tell us to do once we've defeated the lion? First things first, we take the lion's resource deck, which has a picture of the lion on it, says white lion, and has this big R. This deck is shuffled, which I've already done, and you draw the top 4 cards, and we have a shimmering mane, the lion's testes, the lion's tail, and a lion's claw. You also take this deck, which just has the big R and says basic resources, and you'll never guess what this is a deck of. Yes, it's basic resources. So we've gained those, we'll put those to one side, and we've gained some love juice. We're not sure what that is. A broken lantern. And some generic monster bones. These are the resources that we've scavenged from the lion's corpse. These are supposedly things that we found lying around the battlefield afterwards. All the resources get placed face up on the table, which we've done. If anybody's survivor had been killed at this point, you create a new survivor. So we've drawn our resources that we've gathered from the hunt. That's the end of the hunt, and now we move on to the settlement phase proper. So we lay out the settlement board. We start at this end, and basically we just progress our way along it till we get to the end. That'll be the end of the settlement phase, and then we'd proceed out with another hunt to come find another monster. So, first things first, place the settlement board on the centre of the area, survivor sheets and everything else nearby. Use a new double-sided settlement tracking sheet. First things first, name your settlement. You probably can't make it out from there, but I've decided to call this settlement Malus Navis, which, according to Google Translate, is Latin for beacon. So that's the name of our settlement. Begin the settlement. Notice below the settlement name. Then returning survivors will gain 1 survival when the settlement is named. None of our characters used their survival points. Survival points are kind of like fate points in a lot of role-playing games and that sort of thing. They allow you to do re-rolls, gain special ability or trigger special abilities, that sort of thing. At this point, the only thing they can be used for is dodge, which would basically allow them to ignore 1 hit. So if anybody had taken anything terminal, I'd have spent their survival point and they'd be alright. So they gain 1 point of survival. However, your settlement has a survival limit, and that's as high as anybody's survival points can ever go. So they would go up to 2, but their maximum currently is 1. So they don't gain anything. returning survivors heal all of their light and heavy injuries. So all of these boxes that we filled in, including the brain, the heavies and the lights, all get rubbed out so they get a clean slate for next time. Any permanent injuries they'd have picked up would not be healed, but we didn't pick any up, so we're moving on to there. So that would be the survivors. I'm just going to track it with myth here. So that's the survivors return. Gain endeavours. Each returning survivor generates 1 endeavour point. 1, 2, 3, 4 endeavour points. Endeavour tokens are used to track the endeavours. Unspent endeavours are lost at the end of the phase, so spend them if you've got them. Update the timeline. So here we are on our settlement. This is the timeline here. We've completed the first. They're called lantern years, but nobody really knows how long they actually are. It could be a day, it could be a week. This is how the survivors... the extinguishing of a single lantern in the lantern horde happens regularly. This is how survivors track time. It is known as a lantern year. Update the lantern year on your record sheet now by checking off the first lantern in the timeline, which we've done. Find the first day settlement event. Place it in the play area. First day determines the population of your settlement and is always played when a new settlement is created. Follow the rules and record the results on your settlement. During the subsequent settlement phase, you would draw a random settlement event card from the deck. So let's follow our first day card. The first day settlement event will help you set up your settlement in the first event of any. It is the first event of any new campaign. Step 1. The survivors wander, drawn to a blooming light in the distance. They find the serene comfort of a towering pile of lanterns and a small collection of scared people. On a deep, instinctual level, they know this area is safe, and they make it their home. Roll a d10 to determine your starting population. 1d10. 2. What a rubbish result. Choose and record genders for any unnamed survivors. You may name an unnamed survivor and create their record sheet at any point. So we've got 6 unnamed survivors, and if you flick the record sheet over, you have a population. So we've gained 6 plus our 4, so we have a population of 10. And in here we've got Mithrax, Vola, Meninga, and Esmeralda. So we have male, female, male, female. And then we need survivors. So let's go with 3 males, 3 females. So we go male, 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 female, female, female. I'm not going to fill in their names yet. We'll leave that to whoever's playing them when we get there. Return to the settlement section of the first... step 2 of the first day event. Return to the settlement section of the first day and proceed to returning survivors. The first day settlement event card will not be used again during this campaign. Do not include it in the event deck. The returning survivors event is one that's in the rulebook. It's covered in the sort of tutorial chapter that teaches you how to do your initial settlement phase. And it is as follows. Give the survivors the language innovation. There's a deck of cards with an eye on the back that says innovation. And we now have the language event. Language. Survival limit is +1. So we come back to our settlement. And our survival limit is now 2. All survivors gain the encourage survival action, which may not be on here. Oh, yep, there it is. Up at the top next to survival points. So we'll fill those all in. No idea what encourage does. We'll find out later. Oh, we'll find out now. Once per round, if standing, spend 1 survival to call out to a non-deaf survivor. They stand if knocked down. So it's a way of speeding things up, helping other people. Add the language consequence to the innovation deck. So what this means is you go through the innovations deck, and under some of them, language consequence is a word, and in this case there are 6 of them. These would be shuffled and they're added to our innovation deck, and that's completed the language innovation, so that's up there. So we then return to, where are we? Build your settlements innovation deck. Add the lantern horde settlements. So we now have a lantern horde in our location. Turn to it, follow its rules, then return here to complete the settlement event. So it doesn't have any special rules on it, so we can move on. Step 5, update the death count. Did anybody die in the previous mission? The short answer is no. But on the record sheet up here there is a death count, and we'd fill one of these boxes in every time somebody dies. The first time you fill one in, you'll see that one's bold, which would trigger a story event. But nobody has, so we'll move on from there. Check the milestones, that was what we've just done. Moving on to development. During this step, the survivors spend their endeavour points whenever a star icon is shown. Indicates that you build, innovate, craft gear and other joint activities. Must have knocked those off at some point, but we have 4, 1 for each character that came home. You can spend 3 endeavour points straight away to build a bonesmith, a skinnery and an organ donor. So we'll do that. An organ grinder, the bonesmith and the skinnery. So that's got rid of those 3. If your settlement has any remaining endeavours, you may choose to spend it. If you build an organ grinder, you may participate in augury by spending 1 endeavour and following the rules. If this causes a new birth, the principle of new life would be triggered. You may also spend your remaining endeavour and 3 resources to innovate on the lantern horde. If you do, draw the top 2 cards from the innovation deck, choose 1, add it to your settlement permanently. What to do? So we could do augury, which might cost us a resource but would increase our understanding, which I'm guessing is a settlement trait. Understanding. It's not. Okay. Yeah, is it a character trait? It is. Like, there you go. So one of our characters could go and do this, and that would up their understanding. Or we might have a new birth, so we'd gain another survivor in the village, which might be worth doing. The final thing we can do is we can take these resources that we gathered up here and we can use them at these different locations to make new equipment. So we can make gloves, we can make headbands, we can make boots, bandages. If we had the drums innovation, which will be in there, or the ammonia innovation, we could make a whip or a drum. We can make necklaces, we can make lucky charms, a bunch of other stuff that's less useful, but weapons. We might well want to make ourselves some weapons to equip ourselves for the next fight. So I'm going to pause this here. I'm going to look at my various options, and I'm going to tell you where I'm going to go from here. Okay, so I've weighed up my options. I'm going to spend this innovation point, and we're going to try an augury roll. And we're going to do that with... Bowler's a little insane. Where's Meninga? Meninga can have a go. 5. He gains 1 point of survival. So Meninga goes up to 2. As thanks to the language innovation, our settlement survival limit is now 2. So could have been better, could have been worse. Making equipment. I'm going to spend this unknown organ, and I'm going to make a rawhide headband. I'm going to spend this monster bone, which is also a bone, to make this bone sword, or bone blade. I'm going to spend the lion's tail, which is hide, to make another rawhide headband. I'm going to spend the lion's claw to make another bone blade, also a bone. And the lion's shimmering mane is a hide, but you can archive this card to gain 2 basic hide resources. Archiving basically means putting back in the box. It's spending. And I'm going to use those 2 hide to make some rawhide vests. And I'm going to give all of these to the same, or to 2 characters. And I'll show you why. So you have the gear layout for that character, and each of these I'm going to give a headband, a sword, and some armor, or a vest. So I'm going to do that twice for 2 separate characters. Not sure who yet. The headband and the vest give them a point of armor in the head and the body. The bone sword, 2 attacks, hitting on a 6, so the same as, or it's slightly more accurate than the founding stone, which hits on a 7, but it's got a strength of 2, so I'm adding 2 to the damage roll, so I'm more likely to get through. It does have the frail ability, so some hit locations have the keyword super dense, and if we hit one of those with this, it'll shatter. But the main reason I'm taking it is this ability down here, and there's a little blue jigsaw and a little red jigsaw with +1 evasion. So any character that has a complete red square, like that one, gains +1 evasion, which means they're harder to hit. And anybody that's got a blue complete square also gains +1 evasion. So effectively the lion would have been hitting them on 2s, will in fact only be hitting them on 4s, so they're more likely to survive. The headband also has the ability, if it's got a blue thing, which it does, that you can spend an action, or your entire action, to look at the top 2 cards on the AI deck and then put them back in any order that you choose. This gives you a bit more insight into what's going on. But yeah, I'm hoping that will keep people alive a little bit longer. So that all goes into our group's equipment stash. Innovation deck back there. So that was doing all this stuff. These are the settlement locations that we've got. Some of the things we can do later on will be teaching people through shared experience. We'll be able to build a leather worker, but I had a look at the leather worker location, and we need the ammonia innovation, which is somewhere in here, so we'll have to look at that next time. The stone circle also needed some stuff that we don't have, and the weapon crafter, I believe it was heat, to do with melting things stuff. So we can expand on these locations, but for the moment there's not a lot of point. So the only other thing I was going to do, we'll keep these lion testicles and the broken lantern, but I'm going to use the love juice. It says during the settlement phase you may archive this to trigger the intimacy event. Nominated survivors must be able to consume. On second thoughts, the intimacy event actually has some quite significant consequences if it goes wrong, so I'm going to hold off just for the moment. I wasn't sure if that added a concept or what, but at the moment we're going to keep these 3 resources. So that's everything done here. We move past there and we're now in the prepare the departing survivors. Choose a monster from the quarry list on the settlement record sheet, which, as you can see at the moment, consists of just the white lion, the screaming antelope and the phoenix we can't get to yet, so I'm guessing defeating a level 1 white lion or something will unlock something, or perhaps it'll trigger an event somewhere along. But at the moment, all we can go for is the lion. Any eligible returning survivors may become departing survivors. All players may pull a new survivor from the settlement population. To do this, simply get a new record sheet, blah blah blah. Place your gear on the settlement. Any gear from your settlement that is acquired on their grids. Update each survivor's armor points. Award bonuses from gear and innovation. So that would be the +1. Incidentally, I got that wrong. We have to have both the red and the blue to get the +1 evasion, not 1 for the red and 1 for the blue. Skip step 9 in the first instance and record, because there is no special showdown. Record and archive resources. So all of these resources and all of this equipment I need to write down on our settlement sheet. I also need to update the locations. We have built the bonesmith, the skinnery and the organ grinder. We don't have any of those. We don't have any new quarries. Nobody died. Flipping over on the back, resources, so I'll need to write that there. Gear storage, I'll write that down there. We don't know about the nemesis yet. We haven't lost any settlements. We haven't gained any people. We haven't gained any research. So I'm just going to fill this in, and then that's the end of the settlement phase. That's our campaign started. So I suspect I'm going to have to do a little bit of modelling to get some of these guys and girls set up with our new equipment, ready for the next adventure. Hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, give me a thumbs up button. It really does help me out. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And I'll catch you in the next episode. This is Supa Hamsta signing out. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Bye bye.